Now notice that in this argument we've just constructed, there were three types of firm: high, middle, low. But I could have constructed exactly the same argument, albeit somewhat more tediously, with 100 types of firms, right? Firms that had absolutely the lowest cost, firms that had the 99th, the 99th highest cost, 98th highest cost, 97th highest cost, and so on. And this argument would have been exactly the same. At each stage, the firm that's left in the analysis who has the lowest cost will want to reveal to distinguish itself from those who haven't revealed, quote, yet, unquote, right? And therefore we'll get unraveling, and we'll get information to be revealed. And notice, interestingly, we'll get information to be revealed beyond the median, right? So the 51st highest cost firm will reveal, therefore the 50th highest cost firm will reveal, therefore the 49th, and so on. In fact, the only firm who won't explicitly actively reveal themselves is the firm who has absolutely the highest cost, and as Bethany points out, they're going to be revealed anyway. All right? So this is an idea. This idea is called informational unraveling. And again, in keeping for my American audience, I'm going to put one L in unraveling. Is that right? There's one L in America, right? Someone should just check that on Google or something. I think that's correct. All right, what's the lesson here? So one lesson is that this happens. We'll come back to that. But another lesson, perhaps a more important lesson, is often the lack of information, the lack of somebody signaling to you, the lack of somebody trying to tell you something conveys information. Right? This was the point that Bethany was making. The fact that the high-cost firm doesn't, in fact, go out and reveal information to you reveals something about what it knows. All right? So Yu's initial comment was correct. If I was the high-cost firm, I'd like to remain hidden, but I can't remain hidden. Right? But from your point of view as the receiver of the information, there's information in the lack of the attempt to convey information. So lesson, the lack of a signal, the lack of an attempt of a firm to signal you some information, the lack of a signal can be informative. So this is an often forgotten lesson. It's a very simple idea, but there's a natural tendency when you're dealing with information to focus on the evidence that is there rather than the evidence that's not there. All right? There's an expression that goes with this. The expression is silence speaks volumes. Right? You all heard that expression, silence speaks volumes. All right? Let me give you one other example. All right? So there's a Sherlock Holmes story. By the way, do you all know who Sherlock Holmes is? Yeah, good. Okay, so there's a Sherlock Holmes story in which Sherlock Holmes solves the murder. He figures out who did the murder, and Dr. Watson, who's his sidekick, is trying to figure out how Holmes could possibly have solved the murder. And he says, "How did you solve the murder?" And Holmes says, it's because of the barking dog. All right, and Watson says, "What do you mean it's because of the barking dog? The dog didn't bark." Right, and Holmes says that's exactly the point. The fact that the dog didn't bark, didn't make any sound, tells us who must have committed the murder. Right? It's very easy to fall into the trap of being Watson and to ignore the thing that didn't happen and focus on the things that did happen. So here, it's easy to forget that actually the high-cost firm is revealed by doing nothing. All right, so this is the idea that silence can speak volumes.